I finally finished reading another book. This is Close to Death by Anthony Horowitz, which when I picked it up, I didn't realize it was like the fourth, I think, in a series of novels. I'm looking at his little also by, okay, and I've never read any of his YA children's stuff either. But I have House of Silk, which I've tried to read multiple times and could never get past about 30 pages because the tone is just all wrong. I read Moriarty, did not think it was nearly as clever as it thought it was. I read Magpie Murders, which I actually really liked, and Moonflower Murders, which I also liked pretty well, not as much as Magpie Murders, and then there's this one. But I guess he's got like a bunch of other books, and a bunch of them are in this series in which he inserts himself as author, teaming up with a private detective named Hawthorne. I guess, from what I can gather from reading this book. Would I go back and read the previous installments? I doubt it. And here's why. So, this book is told in two parts. Tony, who is Anthony Horowitz, playing himself. He's an author, and he's supposed to deliver a book, I think by December, and it's August, and he doesn't have material, so he hits up Hawthorne, the private detective who used to work apparently for the police but got kicked out for brutalizing a suspect. And in any case, he's like, hey, can I use one of your old cases for a book? Apparently, normally Tony tags along with Hawthorne and writes up things as they're happening, kind of the Watson-Sherlock Holmes dynamic, right? But in this case, with nothing going on, he's desperate for material, so he says, can we look at one of your old cases, and I can write that up for the next book. So this book, called Close to Death, it takes place in a little neighborhood called a close. It has it's a little gated community, if you will. It's got like a number of houses around a rotary, and there's a handy little, they make much of this map. There's a handy little map, which I did find really, really useful. I had to kind of refer to it multiple times to remember which house was which and who lived where. The book starts, the murder takes place in 2014, the present day stuff is set in 2019, so the book starts in 2014 with, us meeting all the people who live in the close, and how they all hate this one neighbor. It's understandable. I've definitely been there with neighbors. Yeah, so, they all have grievances with this one neighbor who obviously ends up dead. Now, it's very kind of inverted Orient Express, which again kind of gets lampshaded in this as, oh, so-and-so had just read an Agatha Christie book about how everybody teamed up to murder this person. But now we know everybody and we know they all have motive. It's a question of who did it, right? So then, we ping pong between Tony's writing of this book. The sections set in 2014 are Tony's writing based on the notes he's been given by Hawthorne. And then in 2019, there are modern day discussions between Tony and Hawthorne and Tony and other people who were involved in the investigation at the time. And yeah, I don't know, it was fine. I pretty much had it figured out really, really, in the first couple of chapters. So I was like, oh, I see what's happening here. I did have a slightly different solution as to why. But, and I mean, I can talk about that later if you want spoilers, but, yeah, I mean, again, it again gets chalked up to this sense of like, this author really thinks he's a lot more clever than he is. And I think, you know, like I said, I've read a couple books by him that I really like, and I've read some books by him that I'm like, you know, you're I don't know, you just clearly, it's like there's a smugness to it that I don't appreciate. I feel like it's another, you know, mediocre old white guy, you know, done good thanks to his connections and a marriage to somebody, you know, who has more connections and whatever. I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is, and that's just that. So yeah, I read afterwards some reviews say, well, this book, the way it goes between the two parts is very different from previous books. So a lot of people who liked the previous books in this series didn't care for this one. And that made me go, well, maybe I could read one of the other books and it would be better / different. But I don't like Tony and I don't like Hawthorne, so I just don't have any motivation to go read any more books with them in it, you know? So there's that, I guess. So yeah, I don't even think, for me, the switching back and forth was not an issue. If anything, the less Tony and Hawthorne, the better, in my opinion. So, so maybe, I mean, I gave it a 3.2, you know, I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. Honestly, it might not even have deserved that much, but, I thought it was okay. It's competently written. And yeah, so spoilers if you don't want to know. But so one of the people in the houses, he's a chess master, you know, grandmaster or whatever. Like, he's a chess player by profession. And he had lived in the big house, but he fell on hard times and had to move to a smaller house. And he sold the big house to the guy that that ends up murdered because the new guy, nobody liked him, right? And my thought was, oh, maybe someone killed the new guy because they were actually trying to kill the guy who moved. Maybe the chess player has some kind of secret, or he's working actually as a government agent, like something way more interesting than the actual solution. But but no, it was just that the chess guy was the murderer. He had planned it all well ahead and yada yada yada. Because I knew the chess guy was involved somehow. He was like, as we moved on and I realized it wasn't going to be a mistaken identity kind of thing, I realized, oh no, it's actually just he did it. Which is a lot less interesting, honestly. Yeah, and there's some animal cruelty in this book, which a lot of people in the reviews they were very unhappy with because there's no trigger warning, and I am somebody who does not tolerate animal cruelty. A lot of people said they tapped out the minute it happened. I thought it was written in a way that I was able to tolerate it, and I was glad it didn't linger. It was obviously one of the reasons some of the neighbors hated the guy, because they blamed him for the animal cruelty. But yeah, it's, you know, find better motivators. We don't need to hurt animals to be, I just stop hurting animals in mystery and thrillers. Like, oh, but that shows they're bad and evil. Oh, but that's a motivator. I'm like, find something else. Do something else. Be more creative than that, because we don't need it. So anyway, yeah, so that is overall I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say because it was fine, I guess. Uh, and yeah, if you've read this one or others in this particular series, or if you've read other Anthony Horowitz books, or, you know, let me know in the comments. I am finishing The Guncle. I've been reading this one on and off for months, and I keep picking up other stuff, mostly because I keep going to the library, and I find books at the library, and they have a due date, so then I put aside the book I'm reading at home to read the library book, when I really just need to stop going to my library, take a break, and finish some of the books I have here. I've got the new Percy Jackson coming later this month, so I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to try and finish The Guncle, and then by the time I do that, maybe Percy Jackson will be here, or something. In any case, yeah, so that's where I'm at reading wise, and yeah, let me know your thoughts about this other book's mysteries, and until next time, take care.